Hey everybody, David G here, founder of the Internet Marketing Party, and I've got a very, very special guest, someone who I've known for quite a few years, and someone who, before I say his name, I'll let you know that I'm going to give you three of his names, not just one of his names. Well, I should say two of his names. Anyway, I've got as a special guest Jonathan Christian Hudson. How are you?
Hello. Hey, man. Great, great. Thank you for the warm introduction.
And I'll say more about you in just a second. But the reason I say Jonathan Christian Hudson is that most people in the online community know him as Christian Hudson. But when I first met him, I met him as Jonathan. So I've always called him Jonathan. But here we are. So
Yeah, it was a total accident. I didn't think I'd do this more than a year. So Christian it's my middle name, and I picked it as like a pseudonym when I started, releasing dating advice programs, and the business kept growing and growing, and Christian kind of stuck, but it was never my intention to be known as that, or like,
yeah.
So it's just this. So now I've got this long, very waspy sounding name that it's fine. I just like JCH, the initials.
Awesome.
But thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So here's what I want to do is I want to tell folks about why they should pay attention to you as you reveal in your talk at the Internet Marketing Party is going to be called 6 Steps to 10 Million. Because as Jonathan and I I've been in some of the same masterminds that Jonathan's in. And when you go to these high-level invitation-only masterminds, not the kind where you have to pay, the kind where you get invited because you're doing the right kinds of volume or because you know the right people, in my case. Because I'm not doing the kind of volume that Jonathan is yet, but I will. And in the meantime, the reason I say that is because it always sounds a little pretentious and a little even douchey if someone just comes right out and says how much money they're generating in their company. But let's face it, we know how much public companies are making, and when we're going to ask you to come listen to a speaker, it's good to know what kind of volume they're doing. So I happen to have been in the mastermind where Jonathan had just had his first $1 million month, where everyone was jumping for joy and excited and having barbecues and cooking burgers, and then they realized it was a month in the red. Things aren't always what they seem.
Yeah, exactly. No, we had some unanticipated costs that month that were the result of some systems errors, some major systems errors. That that was a bad month. It's funny how those things work.
Dude, it's a good thing you did $1 million that month.
Yeah. Well, part of the problem was that we did so much volume. And it was
part of the situation, right? Cool. So Jonathan, your company is the Hero Company. I know you've got a colorful professional history where you've been part of startups and related endeavors. By the age of 20, you'd started 3 different companies, and now that you're in your 30s, even though you look like you're in your 20s still.
Thanks, man. Gray hair kind of gives it away. But
I was surprised when I saw that just now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so your current business, which when you started was nearly 6 figures in debt.
Well, I was, yeah.
You were?
Exactly.
Okay. I thought maybe you brought it on. Or
No. Just a lot of credit card debt.
And now, because I asked, not something you probably go around sharing, but you're on track to doing about 13 million this year?
Hopefully, yeah. I think thereabouts, I hope.
Yeah?
I hope so. We'll see the books, but yeah, I think we've surpassed 8 figures this year, so I think it's safe to guess that. But
nice.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's really rewarding, and the big part is like the number of stuff is what internet marketing people like to talk about, and it's easy to kind of get caught up in that. But I think the really rewarding thing for me, and this could be cliche, but I wouldn't still be doing this if this wasn't so important to me, is that daily we get dozens of emails from our customers saying, "Hey, you helped improve my life," and you helped me find the woman of my dreams, or you helped save my marriage. That's a really rewarding one. And my first venture funded business was enterprise software, and I went around to corporate boardrooms trying to sell them security software, and it was not the humanitarian mission that I feel like I'm sort of on right now. And even though our marketing can get a little edgy, and I definitely get my fair share of emails from people being like, you're a jerk, you're an asshole, you're a misogynist, you're a scammer. You get all of those, of course. But at the end of the day, I get so many great emails from people talking about how happy they are, and that's, I think, such a great way to be spending your life is improving other people's lives. So that's really what does it for me, and is why I'm still doing this. And
I can speak
I'm happy to talk to you.
I can speak to that because, I run a very successful affiliate management agency. We've got almost 1 million email subscribers through our clients. And it's not uncommon for people to say, I think our offer would do well in dating, but I want somebody like that Christian guy. And that's usually when I'm like, Christian, you mean like as in like Jesus Christian, or a guy named Christian? And they're like, no, Christian Hudson, I think is his name. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know him really well, but I know,
Make it happen, Captain. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. So, but because of that, because they want the stuff that's not like too hardcore. Like they want stuff that's based on the NLP, the psychology, like the understanding that you're.
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, as I've looked at our market, I mean, there's sort of a race to the bottom, and I get that. We could have a whole long conversation about like the psychology of the male brain and how it relates to. Buying dating advice products. I've spent a lot of time thinking about that. But, there are certain lines that I just decided in my business I didn't want to cross. And, they're my own. I mean, other people would look at them and say, well, you're way over, my line. But in terms of how we communicate about women, how we, the beliefs that we want to, that we feel comfortable expressing in the world and in the market, there's just certain lines that we don't want to cross. And so I think that, it's been like this interesting tightrope. I've spent a lot of the last year thinking about it, and it's resulted actually in a lot of shakeup in my business. But I'm ultimately happy with the decision, and where we're ending up. So I'm glad to hear that it's connecting with other people, and hopefully some of the advice I share here today will make its way into somebody's hands, and they'll end up contacting me, and we'll do business together, or they'll build something really awesome and make the world better too.
Yeah, I really get that. There were a couple of questions you asked me in the pre-interview that let me know that you genuinely want to have what you do have an impact. Like you're not just doing it because you're bored, because there's nothing better to do. Or obviously, you already mentioned the money, but sometimes, So to that point, let's get things kicked off. Your talk is called the 6 Steps to 10 Million. Mm-hmm. And what we talked about was they're each 5 minutes apiece. So we thought we'd do the first 2 steps here for the pre-party interview, and hope that as many people as come to the party on Thursday, November the 13th, will have already watched the first 2 steps. But then you'll do a quick recap at the party. But let's go ahead and dive in. You want to give any sort of preface to it, or just?
Just the only preface I'd say is I'm in Venice Beach right now, and these like planes fly directly overhead. Their flight path out of the Santa Monica airport takes them over my apartment and into and over the ocean. So if you're hearing much background noise or airplane noise, I apologize for that. But I didn't want to do this interview in a closet. So but I mean
that would be kind of weird.
Yeah. So I guess the other preface, whatever, is I've started different companies in different industries. I mentioned I had an enterprise software company, I had a dating advice company, I had a Jello shot company, I had an MP3 player company. So kind of across the board, I've gone the swing for the fences venture capital financing route, and I've gone the bootstrap it because you don't have any option route. And so that's what I'll be talking about today, is the bootstrap it because you ain't got no other options other than to just work your ass off, rather than the I'm going to put a big business plan together and go raise a bunch of capital route. And this is largely based on what my experiences have been in growing this business. When I started, as I mentioned, I had about $100,000 in debt through the combination of some failed businesses, underwater mortgage, and a lot of credit card debt, and just reckless spending in my 20s in New York. And so I literally had no other option than to just do anything that was leveraging my time, because I had no capital, I had negative capital, and I didn't really have any assets to my name to invest. And at that point, I don't think I was going to go out and raise investor capital based on my track record at that point in my life. So so where you start, and in the phase 1, I'll call it, is services. And that's really where I started. I hung a signpost up and hustled my ass off to get coaching clients and, take guys out to bars, get them in conversations, work with them in workshop settings. And so that's really phase 1, right? Phase 1 is services. And it's developing a good enough skill set of teaching other people what it is that you want to teach them, that you feel confident going out and, creating a product about it eventually. But it's interesting. I've been talking with some people in my life recently about this who are, thinking about going down the same route, and they've had various, you see various objections to like, how quick can I get going? Like, one person I know is looking to do personal training and like really wants a personal training license in order to become a personal trainer. And I was like, yeah, that can be very, very helpful, but you don't like need that. You don't need qualifications. Bless you.
Excuse me.
No, bless you.
Yeah, I get
obviously,
it. You don't need licensing.
Well, in some cases you do. I mean, in the state of California, if you want to cut hair, you have to go get like a barbershop license. So, obviously there's going to be situations where you do need to get licensed, where you do need to go through the field of study. But, a lot of people, when I started, they were like, well, what makes you qualified to teach guys how to talk to women? And I was like, I don't know. I just kind of figured it out myself, and I'm, figuring out how to coach them along the way. And my rates are low, but I'm hustling. So some people are paying it, and it's working out. So my point is that your qualifications ultimately build from customer success stories and your ability to deliver successes to customers. And you can, this is not to say, half-ass it. I mean, when I got into this, I was reading every book on evolutionary psych I could. I was reading, every book on confidence, charisma, all that stuff that I could, all the way up to Tony Robbins. Things that I could bring into the services that I was offering. But the point is that the services is always where it starts. And, that's where you have that great skill set and you're refining that skill set. And what's really important is when you're in this period of time, what you should be trying to look to do is just stuff money in a stock drawer. Like you should cut it, especially if you're coming from a perspective like I was, where capital's tight, you don't know what the next phase of the business is yet. Cut your expenses to the bone if that's necessary, or at the very least, when you're doing coaching, like it can be easy to pull in $3,000, $5,000 a weekend if you price it right. And you've got all this cash now, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go out and celebrate and blow it, and you kind of get. It's easy when you've got those big wads of cash sitting there. Yeah. Obviously, you don't want to do that. I didn't have the luxury to do that. I was kind of forced to just use it for debt repayment. Mm-hmm. But all your capital at that point should go into savings accounts, because as I'll talk about at the event, there becomes a point where capital becomes a massive point of leverage. And if you have that capital sitting there, you're going to be able to build your business so much faster. So in any case, that's point one, is you just save your capital. And point two is try to find what it is that find some edge that makes your services unique. I mean, I can't tell you how many people are on my Facebook feed offering life coaching advice. And it's nice and it's great, and they're really positive, and they've got great things to say. And when I was doing dating advice coaching, it took me ages to sort of find my niche. And it was interesting because at the time I got into it, the pickup was the big thing. Everybody wanted to learn how to pick up women. And I've never been great at picking up women. I've never loved going out to bars and picking up women. This is not my thing. But I've always been in long-term relationships. And it took me years. I can't believe it took me this long to figure out I should just create a program about how to get a girlfriend and teach guys how to get girlfriends. It's something I'm good at and something I feel strongly about. So, I think that the lesson here is figure out what it is about you in this niche that makes you very unique with your training and with the way you communicate with your clients. And it needs to go beyond just, I provide a certain level of service, or I provide, I get results quicker than the next guy, ideally. There really needs to be something. And at this point, too, I would be saying trying to read marketing books. Everything from, what's that one? Ready, Fire, Aim is a great one. What's another good one? I mean, Michael Masterson's Great Leads is another big one. And these are marketing books, and you'd think, well, I'm a services person. Why do I need marketing? If you want to grow your business, it's books like this will help you understand how to package your services in a way that stands out and is very distinctive in the marketplace. So that's 5 minutes. That's stage one. Obviously, you could spend a lot more time talking about how to build a services business, but I think for some people, they're very happy continuing to do services, doing coaching, doing we have a media buyer. He does media buying, and he's thrilled to do that. So some people, like lawyers, accountants, services are the be all end all, and that's where they're going to be. And you just keep getting better and better and getting better clients. If you want to start leveraging your time, though, obviously start making products, and this would be phase 2. Let me pause here. I know I've been talking really fast. First of all, how's your nose doing?
Oh, good, man. All of a sudden, I just started getting sneezy, and now I'm like, I don't want to keep sniffling some.
That happened to me last night at like 12:30, and I couldn't get to bed until 1:30. Just want to make sure you're okay.
I'm good. I did have I'm gonna splice this back in, so if we I don't know. Sometimes I like them to be just really authentic like that.
Yeah, of course. No, that's fine.
What do you say to the person that's watching this, going like, man, I got on the internet because I don't really like hanging around with people. I'm super introverted. I'm, kind of like the guy that's looking for a girlfriend and that just doesn't, it's kind of a hermit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's kind of like the guy who wants to get a girlfriend and doesn't want to get up off his couch. It's like, sorry, you got to get up off your couch. Like, you got to start texting people. You got to start going out. You got to start socializing. Like, and in services, you don't have to start there. Like, there's plenty of people who develop a skill. And here's a good example, right? If you came into this with a writing background, I've met some of the world's greatest copywriters, and some of these guys are a little bit awkward. I'm sure you've met,
no, I don't mean that about all of you copywriters. I mean that about some of you for sure.
It's like, and by the way, I can be extremely awkward at times myself. So, no pejorative implications there. But, the point is, I think, pick the services that are right for you. You don't have to be a personal trainer. You don't have to be, a dating coach. And pick a service that seems right. You can do. I've got a buddy here in California who does graphic design for. He does graphic design for direct marketing companies. He can sit on his couch all day. All he has to do is Skype with people, and he's not introverted particularly, but that's the service that he provides. Yep. Point being, you're going to end up, I suppose, trying to find a service that. You need a skill to perform a service, whether that skill is helping guys talk to women or helping people create amazing copy. Nice. So the service is going to come out of what that skill is, and that skill is going to come out of what you feel you really like to do, and that you're really good at, and that you'd give up everything else to do, and that when the chips are down and you got nothing else to do, this is what you're gravitating towards. So. That's that whole how do you find your purpose, passion thing that you're doing in life thing, and that's a much broader question. But I think it's a great question and an important antecedent to what services do I provide? Does that sort of answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that I asked, because sometimes you just need to hear what you need to hear, and in case there's somebody that's watching this at home and going like, yeah, but I got on the internet marketing because I don't want to.
It's
like, no, man, you gotta
do
get
media
off the
buying.
couch.
Like some of the guys who do our media, like we've got a dedicated media buyer, but some of the guys who buy media for our stuff as affiliates, like I have no idea where they live. Like we send them wires, it goes through 2 intermediate banks in countries that are, God knows where they are. So and I've never had face to face, and some of them even voice contact, but we track their stats. We make sure that there's no fraud. We make sure that they're on the up and up in terms of the volume they're sending, and and it works out. So, you can definitely, if you're getting into internet marketing, and you can definitely get into it without having to to be a super extrovert. Frankly, I'm pretty introverted myself, and all of this was a result of trying to break out of my shell and become more extroverted. But cool. yeah, good point. Good point.
Let's breeze through the second one, because these are optimally little quick teasers for people to get to the party. But this has been such a good
it's a good conversation.
It's a good conversation.
I'll jump into the second one.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, just in case there's people that are like, Man,
Oh no, I know. Short attention spans out there. What is it? It's too long. Didn't TLDR. I just learned that acronym.
what is it?
Okay, so point two is products. Obviously, you're going to leverage your services into products, and this is this is what I started to do. I developed my quote unquote system for going from zero to meeting a girl to getting her number to be. It wasn't quite like becoming a girlfriend. It was just like how to be great with women is a course. Um, but this is the next highest point of leverage is taking that unique service that you have and packaging it up into a product. And there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. For some people, it just starts with an ebook, and that's a pretty easy way to get going. You can do seminars, you can do videos. I mean, when we did it, it was videos. But once again, this is where you'll want to start to think about having a marketing mindset and like bringing. I guess I would say like bringing more of a marketing mindset into it. The sooner that you can bring marketing into the product creation, the sooner that you'll be able to connect with your audience. But to give you some context, like my first product was called Unbreakable. It was about like I think it was called the confidence and game to get what you always want or something like that. Pretty vague, big promise. It's a great course. The breakout hit that I had was called Before You Text Her. It wasn't even a product I had written. It was a product about how to text women, and that was like very specific. It was something that a lot of guys were looking for, and we wrote good copy for it. That was the one that kind of like took our business to a pretty good place. But the one that just catapulted everything was my girlfriend course, and it's the USP or unique selling point is step-by-step system to make any woman your girlfriend, and that's where it really started to resonate. And you notice like just how big that promise is, but also how specific it is. Mm-hmm. It's just about every guy wants a girlfriend. Some don't. Some really hate women, and I think that's weird. But like for any guy who's straight and who wants a girlfriend, this is a pretty compelling option for like the way I present it and the way I market it, and also what's in the course. So, when you're thinking about creating that product, the questions that you want to be asking yourself are like, what do people really, really, really want? Like, because they don't want the confidence in game to get what they want always. They want a girlfriend, or in our industry we see they want sex. The six-pack shortcut guys, they hit on a great one. It's guys want six-packs. Or guys want what are their other products? It's like Monster Mass. Guys want to get big, or Insane Home Fat Loss. Guys want to get cut. So that's where you're trying to package up this unique thing that you've got into into a great product. And the thing that I found, I mean, I created product after product after product for a long time, and it was actually really good. Like myself and the guy who I was working with at the time, we paid off a lot of our own debt by essentially creating these webinars, which became products and which we kind of sold, and it was this hamster wheel for a while. But the risk that a lot of people run into, and I see a lot of people who are novices in doing this, is they just focus on like product after product after product, and that's what we did. And that doesn't, if you're really looking to build like the sort of business I did and get to that 8-figure mark pretty fast, then you want to just focus on getting that one product that everybody's going to want. And this is where marketing comes in, and that's like the third thing that I'll talk about at the IM party is how to get your sales and marketing correct and in alignment with what the marketplace wants. But the key takeaways from product, I know I've been kind of zigzagging around here. The key takeaways are as soon as you feel like you've got something unique to offer to the marketplace, and that you feel qualified to do it because you've gotten results from people who have benefited from your services, it's a very high leverage move to think about making a product. You should not put a tremendous amount of time into if you're Steve Jobs, you should put a lot of time into developing the iPod or the iPhone. But if you're developing an information product, if you're watching this, and I'm assuming a lot of people who are watching this are going to be information marketers, the quality of the product, like, you should probably put about as much time into the marketing. And you should put, at the very least, put about as much time into understanding and learning marketing as you do in the product. One of the big mistakes I made as well was just trying to become have perfect products. that can work in markets where products grow through word of mouth, like the iPhone goes through word of mouth, apps go through word of mouth. So in that case, your marketing dollars, this is the Seth Godin model of like create an amazing product, create a purple cow. But if you're selling ebooks, if you're selling information, it's pretty rare that information, unless you're Tony Robbins or Tim Ferriss and swinging for the fences with a big book, it's pretty rare that information is something that gets shared via word of mouth. So that's why you need to put so much time into marketing, and it's why you don't need that perfect product. You need something that's good enough to go to market with and start running with and testing and seeing what's going to work. And I think we can probably leave it there. There's a lot of courses out there on product creation, and I think that most people who really care about what they're teaching, it's the thing that they need the least help with, because it's easy to put a PowerPoint deck together, stand in front of a camera, or sit down and do some writing. Everything else, it's the everything else that's the hard part, and that's what I'll be talking about at the party. Is like, now that you've got your great skill set, now that you've got a product, how do you add fuel to the fire and accelerate it and get it up to doing a lot of revenue?
I like it, man. This has been a really, really good interview. Based, the content you've given is phenomenal, because there are a lot of distinctions you've made that are really big chunks of Lego blocks, and then there's some that are really, really small, but it's almost like the key has to have the perfect grooving for it to. You can put it in the lock, but can you turn it?
Yeah,
I think a lot of the information that you gave was either the grooving or the right key. Because and it's cool, because even on the services part, I think there's some people who have found their way into info marketing, and they're doing so well that at some point, then they finally discover coaching, which is almost like they're going full circle and going back into services. And then they get this giant uptick, but now they've got the foundation and the platform with which to do it at a different level. So it's almost like, I see it as this like...
Exactly. Nice guns, by the way.
What?
Nice guns. Arms are looking big there.
Oh, thanks.
I've seen the same thing, and it's funny. I've thought about getting into coaching myself, and I don't really want to do it right now. I don't feel like I could do clients justice at the same time I'm doing my employees justice. Right. But it's exactly that. It's like you start all over with services, and you're charging an hourly rate, and then maybe eventually you create a course on it. Maybe you don't. I mean, coaching can be. There's a tremendous value for a great coach. I mean, Tony Robbins gets paid a lot of money. I've had a couple coaches in my life. I'm working with a coach right now, and I pay this guy a god awful amount of money, but it's worth it. And so if you feel called to do that, and if you like doing it, then you don't need to go beyond services. But it's just kind of, what type of business do you want to build for your lifestyle? I know for me, with dating coaching, I just I didn't want to spend my weekends in bars. Yeah. I kind of lost the drive to keep going out, and I see the guys who are doing really well with coaching. I mean, this company, Real Social Dynamics, they're still a big coaching company. It's like their instructors half of them are my age, and they're still going out to bars every weekend from all I can tell. So it's like, if that's the lifestyle you want, that can work great, but it's you got to figure it out, and what's the fit with your lifestyle.
For sure. So some of the other distinctions that I got from this were like, I've often heard people get stuck in the whole product perfection thing that you were talking about, and I'd never heard someone talk about how the difference between making an exquisite product offline, with a physical product, or with unless you're swinging for the fences like Tim Ferriss, which is the outlier to the max. It's just apples and oranges. Like, you just need to get if you care that much about your product, start selling it so that you can then put some of that money into making that product amazing.
That's exactly it. Is your product basically? I mean, if you're looking at this from the perspective of like your CFO, right? Your CFO is going to be like, okay, how much money did you invest in creating that product? And it's not just money, but also time, because your time is money. How much money times time did you invest in creating that product? What was the ROI on that? And the faster that you can turn over that ROI and be generating more, money in the future, the better. So, I mean, I look at what we've done, and the big growth that happened for us was launching our girlfriend product, and then just scaling it and scaling it and scaling it. But the the amount of time that we actually invested in creating the product is pretty minimal. It's a lot of the investment from this point forward has been systems, and that's point 4, by the way, on the 4 point,
awesome.
On the 6 point thing. But yeah, I think, and the key point, and I went through this really quickly. I want to call this out again, is put every second of every day of every hour, I think I got that right, into the product if it's a product that grows by word of mouth. I'm an investor in an app company that, like, when they launched their database, they launched on the day that iOS 7 launched, and everybody joined up, and their database collapsed. And it was taking like weeks for new accounts to get activated. They didn't know that they were going to get crushed like that, but that's a good example of where that app spreads through word of mouth, and marketing is not like an important investment for them. The investment they need to make is all in product, because if people have a bad experience, then all the marketing in the world can't save them. So I don't want to say go create a shitty product. That's the rule. That's the end of the story. It's if you've got something that spreads by word of mouth or network effect or virally, then your product has to be amazing. If you got something that, if you're going after direct marketing, which I think a lot of people in your community and who are going to hear this message are, then your product has to be good enough to get the results that you're promising, but it doesn't have to be a work of perfection. And the work of perfection needs to be the marketing. And actually, and I'll close off on this. When we launched our girlfriend course, I had no idea it would take off the way it did, and after about, I'd say, 8 months of just seeing growth like that, I ended up going back and refilming it and making it the product that I thought it needed to be, and not the product that it was. So you always have the opportunity to go back and do it over if the marketing takes off. But that's for us IM folks.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah, man.
It's been phenomenal. I think that's the perfect place to leave folks.
Yeah.
What would you say would be the biggest kind of like sexiest carrot you can dangle for folks that are thinking about coming, that may have that what you've said so far maybe wasn't like, because I believe
I'm just thinking like biggest sexiest carrot.
Yeah,
man can. Yeah,
I know. I was just thinking along the lines of like, right now, I'm sure there's someone who's watched this and was like, oh, that's cool, but I don't know if it's for me. But based on what I know about you, your experience, your network, your community, and the breadth of which that you have a desire of helping people, and the people that I know you'll attract, that they might not know, I think that it's worth asking, like, what's 1 or 2 things that you might share that are outside of the scope of, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, absolutely. So one of the big sticking points for me was team building. So I mean, look, I'm going to talk about the next 4 steps, and I'll give you a high level of what they are. It's team building, systems. Gosh, I can't remember. I'm like totally blank. Team building, systems, deal making. But there's one other that marketing. Yeah, sales and marketing, team building, systems, and deal making. So I'll be covering those as quickly as I can while still doing them justice. But I think that team building is something that a lot of people struggle with. I mean, I still struggle with it to this day, and yet I've developed some pretty good methodologies for like identifying the right people, for bringing them in, and for making sure that I can determine if they're a good fit or not. And so I think that for anybody who's looking to grow their business, that segment alone is going to be huge. It's like, how do I attract the right people to my business? And how do I allocate the time to train them? And how do I make sure that they are the right people, 1 month and 3 months and 6 months in? So that's something that I don't want to say I'm as good at as Richard Branson, but like I've actually read a lot of Branson's stuff, and his stuff and some others have informed my view on that. And then beyond that, I mean, obviously sales and marketing, I could talk for 5 hours on that, but I'll try to condense some of that stuff into the tightest, best concepts. And I mean, basically, like, I just, listen, for anybody watching this who's debating or who's on the fence, like, I'm not getting paid to do this. I'm not trying to build a coaching business. I'm not going to be up there pitching like myself or anything. I don't have time to coach you or anyone. I wanted to get up there and like share some great stuff with David's audience and anybody who's going to be there to help them walk the path that I've been walking. So that's it. It's like no pitch, just everything I've learned building my business, and I'm gonna do my very best to share it all.
Thanks, man. I love that last piece, because that came through so like genuinely. It just like makes me want to go.
Thanks, man. Well, you better be there. You're the guy who runs it. So yeah.
All right.
All right. All right. Well, thanks, man. I'll see you there in November, but I'm sure we'll talk before then. And thanks. Hopefully, I'll see some of you guys there.
Thursday, November 13th. Go to internetmarketingparty.com/Austin or join to become a member. And thanks again, Jonathan. Christian.
Yeah. Thanks, man. All right. We'll get it right eventually.
Yeah.
All right. See you, man.